Good morning, everybody from Los Angeles. I've got about an hour before Michael Connolly's town car comes and collects me to give me a tour around LA as I head off to LAX and the long journey home. So I've got a little bit of time to reflect, and yeah, it's been a really, really surreal time. It's just been fantastic, but naturally very tiring as well. Firstly, I'd like to say thanks for the very generous comments, because sometimes I get very self-conscious when I write, on the Facebooks and stuff, and I don't write for anybody in particular apart from myself. Remember, this is a pseudo cigarette; it's not a real cigarette. It's not even electronic. It's just you suck on it and a red light comes on the end. We all suffer melancholic moments in our lives. The navigation of the ups and downs, my belief, is what is very, very important. There's too many times in our lives where we can have real downs, because you have like this sine wave, up and down and up and down. And sometimes the highs can be really, really high, and you have to be very careful, because if you're not careful enough when you're at the top end, at the high, you can start believing your own bullshit. And once you start doing that, you get less grounded and, have airs and graces. And then when you get the really lows, that's when you've got to avoid the tall windows. Anyway, this is the balcony. I'm not going to open it because it's noisy. You've got the sounds and the smells and the heat of LA. My word, it's hot. It really, really is hot. There's something about the sun in Los Angeles. It's big, and when the dawn broke this morning, you could feel it on yourself. Anyway, I'm also grateful for Michael Connolly for arranging this treat for me after the intense period of time I had on the Bosch 3 years of anxiety, coupled by this intense period. And in fact, this is one of Michael Connolly's t-shirts, because I brought one t-shirt and a couple of shirts, but I was massively overdressed. But Michael said, even they're surprised at the moment at the heat in Los Angeles. And there's lots of problems everywhere. There's water shortages and things like that, but it's really high. Anyway, as I was saying, you've got to manage the highs, and, don't start believing your own bullshit, because it can go the other way as well. And when it goes really, really down, don't get too close to those high windows. There's a high window here, right? It's a line that is etched from a John Irving novel about melancholia. We have to traverse the ups and downs in life, sometimes not so successfully, sometimes successfully. It's part of the human condition, Sometimes happy, sometimes blue, glad that I ran into you, tell the people that you saw me passing through. Leonard Cohen. So let's just have a few thoughts first and foremost. Oh, there were moments I absolutely regretted doing the programming for Bosch Raleigh. I was badgered and badgered and badgered by a former chair, and that was back in the times of St. Louis when the presentation came on for the Raleigh bid. But the issue was, a couple of people from the South had said, listen, Ali, Bosch has not been to a southern state. The last time he was south was Las Vegas, and that's not even south. And there was 2 other cities for the bid, and they said, if we associate your name to do the programming, we know we'll get the bid. And, that's a hard thing to call. And I was aware of Southern hospitality and everything else, and I'll be frank with you. In North Carolina, I have been, flabbergasted at the reality of what is Southern hospitality. I knew a little bit. I was talking to John Hart, the North Carolina writer, and I met him a few years ago when he got the dagger, the Ian Fleming steel dagger at Bosch in London. And he was so hospitable and so nice. And when I spoke to him again this time, I hadn't seen him since 2009. And I said to him, you were right about Southern hospitality. So anyway, I agreed to put my name down to be the programming chair, a decision I went through the cycles of later regretting. And then now, I thought I did a reasonable job. It was very, very hard. It's a great team behind us, and I apologise for not replying to a lot of emails. We've had, collectively as a team, an amazing array of emails from so many of the people that attended, not just panellists, people just had a great time. The panels were, I've had people saying the panels were really interesting, really well attended, friendly. But I think what epitomised it is on the closing ceremonies, there was a young lady, and she almost brought to tears when Rochelle Starr was asking the guests of honour about their experiences and any questions from the audience. This was before I fell asleep. Listen, I was so tired. My head was nodding away, and I fell asleep. But this young lady had put her hand up, and she'd explained that she'd been nursing her husband through chemotherapy for the last 3 years, and this was a little break for her. And you could see her eyes water to say, I finally get to meet the rock stars, the writers. And for people who don't read fiction, you have to understand, I feel sorry for you. Fiction reflects the reality we find ourselves in. It's existential, and then it becomes real. And it's a great distraction for when the world is harsh and grey. I know myself, I have memories of a small child hiding in the library, and I get upset thinking about it. Because he had no friends. But he knew he'd have some later on. I'm sorry. And I'm sitting here all alone, and all the nice comments people are paying, been really hard and tired. Anyway, she got upset, and she said it was such a good time that she had. And Rochelle at that stage had to close it because you couldn't follow it with that comment. Everybody I have heard nothing negative. And early days, I was really worried, you know, when you push yourself to the edge of human experience, you know, the hours, and then you worry, and beyond it, I was having to make sure that we represented, you know, in as fairly as possible that we could, with regard to, you know, female representation, male representation, all the subgenres. You know, I couldn't really focus, and I had Kerry who rated all the authors, Al, Ingrid was brilliant, Erin helped, JD, the volunteers, the whole lot. But I had on my phone, in my Dropbox, data sheets there. So if anybody came up to us and said, you know what, there's not enough females on the thing, I'd pull out and say, oh, funny you mentioned that. 57% of the panelists were female. And then I would then show that, you know, if somebody said, well, there wasn't enough traditional mysteries. Well, no, I'm sorry. And also espionage. And then also coming up with titles that would provoke thought and allow people to think. And my belief is, you know, people say, why are you so fascinated with books and writing? Well, I tell you what, for the writers out there who are toiling away, you know, writing away, and in the society at the moment does not value the arts, and it's very, very annoying. As Stephen King said, and I think it's a very valid thing, you know, life isn't a support system for the arts, it's the other way around. We use the arts to be able to cope with the difficulties that we have. And I'm so glad Bauschicon, in particular, focuses on librarians when all around us, it's all about capitalism, making money and accumulating wealth. No, it's not. It's about being decent to people, you know, coping through the difficulties we all have. We're all human beings. Bauschicon is like a family. You know, other people say, well, what is Bauschicon? World Mystery Conference? You know, what's all that about? Well, I tell you what, I've been doing this for a long time. My first Bauschicon was 2003. I go to the Harrogates, the Crime Fest, the Thriller Fest, and whatever. And this other assertion that some people say, oh, well, thriller writers are all right-wing and crime writers are left-wing, utter bollocks. I tell you what, the most liberal and caring people I've ever met are the writers and the readers, because often we retreat into books because when the life that we see around us gets hard and difficult for us, we can retreat into books. And librarians are my rock stars because they help us and they put us through and get us through the times that are difficult. So anyway, listen, I'm sorry about this. I'm going to have to make a move fairly shortly. I really get self-conscious about it. I don't know why I put all this stuff up there. It's because I live alone a lot of the time. We're all contradictions. You know, people see me as gregarious and talking and all that sort of stuff. I'm a real loner as well. You know, my father, who's a retired psychiatrist and getting old now, you know, he always used to say, give me a child to the age of 8 and I will show you the adult. And some of us don't make it with the difficulties of childhood, and others do. And it's so important. And the other thing to think about is our actual thinking. You know, we have a choice when we're asked a question or how we react. I'm a firm believer let's try to be nice, you know, try to look on the positive side. Anyway, it's been hard, but my word, what a party. And I've made sure, you know, collectively we could provide the best show for the people fascinated by the dark side of literature. And why the dark side of literature? Well, I find the people with the darkest imaginations are the ones that are the nicest people as well. Books are our retreat. They're always there. We can go into them when the world is hard, you know, harsh around us as well. And finally, my family are just wonderful. You know, I've got a really good family. The children are no longer children. They're doing really, really well. My wife has tolerated me for a long time. At Christmas time, we're 25 years married. I often joke, our marriage has been successful because I'm never there. That's not really true. I do that as a jokey thing. You know, we're very, very loyal, tight-knit family as well, and they tolerate my things. Because I always say, look at the big picture, because everything's a yin and yang, you know, and I always say, look, I could be on heroin, I could be an alcoholic, I could be a womanizer, I could be a gambler, but no, I like reading books, you know, and that's a bizarre statement. And then sometimes somebody would say, well, why do you compare yourself to the worst, you know, as opposed to the best? Because it makes me feel better, and that's what life is all about. And this period of time while I've been at Bosch, oh my word, it was stressful. And then finally, before I go off, because the Lincoln Town Car is going to be here shortly, and I'm going to have a look around LA. I'll take my cameras, take a few photographs as I do. I'd just like to say a big, big thank you to Michael Connolly. I've known Michael a long time, as I stated before, and he knew the difficulty. He always comes to BauschCon, always comes to BauschCon. And this year he couldn't come because Bosch Season 2 was being filmed. There's no way he could come over. We even discussed about coming over for a day. So instead he said, no, Ali, what I'd rather do, you're going to go through a hard time. Why don't you come over to Los Angeles and I will show you the Los Angeles of Harry Bosch, because I know you like the Harry Bosch character so much. His generosity is only matched by his narrative skill. He is the world's greatest writer of detective fiction. Bottom line, sorry. I'm sorry for all of you guys there. There's some very, very good writers, but Michael Connolly, he's the man. And if you haven't seen Bosch and Titus Welliver, I mean, my word, the day yesterday on location on a shoot was just so unreal. At times, I was saying to Larry Gandel, and again, Larry's a great fan, pinch me, I'm dreaming, this cannot be real. I was backstage. And as I came onto the set, Titus came over to me. You know, I'm a nobody, I just read fucking books, you know. And everybody was just so nice. And I had a great time. I picked up some great books. Too many people to name. I apologise if I've not replied to your emails there. There's a couple of people wanting photographs. I have emailed them from my phone, but a lot of photographs are on my digital camera, which I'll do when I get back to England. I'll email them to you. Haven't replied formally to everybody who's been sending so many nice comments about BauschCon. But I will do so later. But I keep saying but, fuck that. Effectively, BauschCon was made by all of you that attended. And Michael Connolly, you are top biff. Right, off to see a bit of LA, and then off to Atlanta, Georgia, back to Raleigh, few hours sleep, then back to London. And thanks for humouring my eccentricity. From Los Angeles, Ali Krim. Bye-bye.